A good day to you. I thought of speaking to you on the topic of the addictive mindset. This has become a serious issue because so many young people and maybe even older people are so much on the pixel screen, and with the COVID issue that many schools have done many studies on the pixel screen with Zoom and other platforms. So I met this young boy, 14 years old, good background, and he's angry all the time. He had been brought to me on the basis that I'm a mentor, otherwise he does not want to see anybody, certainly not to see a doctor because that has a stigma. So I began to draw graphics and explain to him what the issue is. I think මේ කාලේ ගොඩක් ළමයි digital වලට ඇබ්බැහි වෙන නිසා. So I had to explain to him the issue. So I started drawing the two parallel pathways that are available for us, which is designed, the top-down regulation, which is what we get into normally, the planning process in the default mode network of thought will last for 1 hour. Of that, the first 45 minutes will be dopamine driven and dopamine acting in its physiological mode, which would be DA1 receptor, dopamine 1 receptor. So executive empathic pathway. I have to describe the normal pathway for you to understand what happens in addiction. And we can't talk addiction because addiction has a bad stigma, especially in Asian countries like Sri Lanka. But it's a real problem in day-to-day life. So, top-down regulation from prefrontal cortex, which is the empathic executive conceptualizing process, initiate, navigate, successful in conclusion, and reward. This dopamine tracking or dopamine modulated conceptual pathways so that you think and do will work for 45 minutes, and then dopamine U curve comes down and it's a physiological DA1 receptor. Serotonin takes over for check back, assimilation, how do I improve, correction. So you will immediately understand it is not only a curricular process, it's also about character. When serotonin is able to do that check back and see, did I do it well? How do I improve it? Connection, collation, then memory storage, all that is involved in what serotonin does. Now that's the way to go. Now if the child gets digitized and too much on the digital screen, the young fellow will not be able to do that. What will happen is the dopamine keeps going up. It will not come down in 45 minutes because he's now on it for ever and ever. And the dopamine receptor shifts from DA1 receptor, which is physiological, to DA2 receptor, and he slips into bottom-up regulation. So what is bottom-up regulation? Basically, the drive of the last hour. What stimulated you in the last hour, forcing itself into the next hour and the next hour without you deciding in an executive empathic manner. Executive means you think and do, stop and start. Empathic means it's good for you, good for your future, good for others, good for your curriculum, good for your parents. All that is in there in that empathic intuitive pathway. So when you're on the pixel screen with fast cartoons or very thrilling digital games, then the number of pixels involved in the program, and depending on the pixel screen you use, for instance, a modern iPhone or iPad or tab or smartphone will be at least 1000 pixels per inch. Whereas our retina has rods and cones for 247 per inch. and reflected sunlight has a photon scatter of 247 per inch. So our retina is best designed to read from photon scatter of sunlight. However, we can accommodate a fast pixel screen for some length of time for regular study like Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint. The retina and the brain can adjust, but when you're on very fast cartoons and digital games that involve so many pixel frames and so much of pixel consumption, within the first 25 minutes of you getting into it, the dopamine is on a pathway that's not going to come down in 45 minutes. Your dopamine in your conceptual tracts of the prefrontal cortex. Very quickly, you may have heard that dopamine is found in the gut, and serotonin is also found in the gut. So when a child is digitized, irritable bowel syndrome and abdominal migraine and the scalp migraine in the scalp arteries, all that are possible as part of the digitized syndrome. Not only possible, it happens. So when the child is on this digital screen for more than 25 minutes, dopamine is not thinking of coming down, dopamine is going up, up, up. And the DA1 receptor, which is physiological, changes to DA2 receptor, which is addictive. Then in 45 minutes, it's not coming down. Serotonin has no way to influence, so serotonin keeps spiking. A layman's explanation is like migraine in the conceptual tracts. Serotonin keeps spiking up and down, and you're not getting any correlation, connection, memory, recall. Check back, nothing is happening. All that is happening is what you have done this hour will go into the next hour and will drive you keep doing the same thing, which is addictive behavior. So what may have stimulated in you in the last hour that drives you into the next hour with dopaminergic, dopamine-driven addiction is 1, the pixel screen, fast cartoons and fast games. 2, it may be some emotional sorrow that you are reliving, loss of a loved one. So that is part of the post-traumatic stress disorder. Or it may be pornography or any other sexual aberration and thrill and peril. It may be violence. It may be anger. It may be vengeance. So all those things that were moving you beyond physiological level in your dopamine tracks will work into your next hour, next hour, next hour, and it may take you 12 hours or 24 hours, and then you are into bottom-up regulation. And when you are into bottom-up regulation, you are not thinking and doing from your prefrontal cortex, you are into subcortical behavior of the survival track, and that goes through amygdala, hippocampus, and the hypothalamus, which is driven by the last strongest emotion, which may be pain, which may be physical pain, which may be emotional pain, which may be the trauma of a lost loved one, or anger, bitterness, lust, sexual lust, gambling, whatever. And when you're on that bottom-up regulation, you recruit other painful and stress-provoking stimuli, because you're not thinking and doing, your gates are wide open to attract other thrills and perils, and you're in fight, flight, fright mode. So this is a picture of the addictive behavior. So when I was counseling this boy, what I had to tell him is, son, look, you have to recover your default mode network of thought in the 1 hour. That's what it's called. That's the thought science term for it, default mode network of thought. Now, I believe it's God's design. Now, you may be working with God or you may be theorizing without God. I think it's a good design. And when we violate that design of having to think through of what we have done, taking stock, taking responsibility, contribution, accountability, and responsibility, CAR pattern of behavior, as against the 3F behavior, fight, flight, fright, flight. So you have these things like fleeing when no man is pursuing, that kind of behavior. So when you're on this dopaminergic drivenness, you will also recruit adrenaline, cortisol. That is why young fellows, very young boys, even 10 years old, get central obesity, truncal obesity, and their cortisol high. They can get fatty liver. Some even end up with cirrhosis of the liver. First steatosis of the liver, fatty liver, and then cirrhosis of the liver, simply because of unhealthy food habits and unhealthy digital habits that's driving unhealthy food habits. And these kids learn that if they take vegetable and fruit, which adds serotonin to their system, that their dopamine-driven thrill is subdued. They feel as if they get deflated. So they will say, I hate fruit, I hate vegetable, they avoid both. Then they also learn if they take a proper sit-down rice meal, the digitized effect will be broken. So they don't sit at one meal, they keep snacking the stuff with e-substances that provoke the same stimulation that the pixel screen has done. At this point, I need to tell you that cocaine behaves exactly the same, where it keeps dopamine going high and doesn't allow dopamine to come down, and DA1 receptor, dopaminergic receptor DA1, the physiologic one, shifts to DA2, the addictive one. So this is also foxhole behavior, if you may. That is a soldier under constant peril and threat of his life. He gets into a certain behavior without thinking. Every sound, every sight, he's ready to fire back. And in fact, when he's on it for more than 8 hours, he has bursts and he does not know what he does. That's how soldiers under stress, they bust and they go on a killing rampage. So the digital screen and the digital games quite simulate the soldier in the foxhole. So I'm not exaggerating. So kids come to me with anger all the time. And then at a certain point when they get dopamine depleted, now they are recruiting anti-reward systems. What is the meaning of that? Think and do, top-down regulation, executive empathic, promotes the designed pathway of behavior, default mode network of thought, initiate, navigate, successful in conclusion, reward. The reward motive must come from inside. So that initiation to reward track is what primes you up for physiological think and do behavior in the next hour. So when dopamine has done it, the salience part, work to a salient point, and serotonin takes over the satiety part, good reward, well done, how to improve, I must do this. Then next hour, you have a trigger for initiation, navigation, and conclusion, another hour. That is the way we need to study, that is the way we need to behave. Any hour that you are driven from last hour to this hour without you taking responsibility, accountability and contribution, you are into an addictive pattern of behavior. It can become 1 hour, next hour, next hour, next hour. So you can dance till you drop through the night, and when you get up in the morning, you are back on the screen, keeping that same disco kind of excitement going, the peril, thrill, survival track. So you may ask, why is there such a track? I believe God designed a track. This is not only believing, that is true scientifically, that there is a track that is for survival and peril and thrill situation. For instance, you start slipping on a banana skin, or you are in a danger zone, someone says fire, someone says bomb, and there are certain things in your body that works to get you out of that. Now you can't live always on that mode, you understand? So the whole disco scene sets kids into the party mode through the night, hardly studying during day, and they are primed up for that kinesthetic, high acoustic, high visual, revved up behavior, which is called bottom-up regulation, that goes through amygdala, hypothalamus and hippocampus. So how do you counsel a boy like that? We have to speak to the young fellow, girl or boy. Parents often try to take this take the counseling into their hands. They like to ask questions from me. Actually, I need to sit with them separately and tell them it's all in the boy's hands. Because by this time, you had allowed your son or daughter into digital behavior. You probably gave him a screen, top smartphone, too fast. Now, some kids have a smartphone in their hands at the age of 7 years, 8 years. Some parents say at the end of O-level, GC O-level, grade 11, public exam, as a reward you give a smartphone. That's the end of his studying. To the extent you're on the digital screen, you dumb down your career potential, you dumb down your curricular potential, you dumb down your decision-making process. So they don't know at the end of O-level what they should be doing. If you give them a smartphone before they finish the O-level, they'll quickly say, we want to do some degree program, try this, try that. You spend some money for 3 months, they say, no, that doesn't work, this doesn't work. And they can be always on things they start, they don't finish, including love affairs and sexual jones. Got it? They start, experiment with studies, with curriculum, with careers, with opposite sex or sex life, parties, leisure, this, that, and even businesses. Sometimes they say, I want to be my own CEO. So that is also an addictive behavior of not contributing and not having a track record, but jumping into it, assuming fantastically that they can do this, because the digital screen and success in digital games operates in the fantastic, unreal, spook, magic, brilliant things suddenly happen. That's the mode your son or daughter has got into. So what can we do? I need to sit with them and go through the scientific tracks. I'm Dr. Lalith Mendis. My last substantive post in Sri Lanka was as head of Department of Pharmacology in a straight medical faculty. I'm also the founding director of Empathic Learning Center, Colombo. You can send a WhatsApp message or request to +94 77 49 59 214, either to obtain an appointment, which is free of charge, or to get some of my books, my clips. They're available on my Facebook timeline, just like now, or on my YouTube channel, Dr. Lalith Mendis. Just do Google, you put Lalith Mendis plus digital, you will get any number of clips on this subject that can educate on how to prevent your son and daughter getting digitized, how to get them out of the digitized procedure. But you must know that the responsibility has to be with them. Having loved them to get digitized, you can't just pull them out. You can't get doctors to pull them out. You can't get drugs to pull them out. When a child is dopamine, serotonin imbalanced in the brain, giving drugs only makes the matter worse. They will look as if they have ADHD because of the 3 symptoms of ADHD comes on with digitized behavior. What are the 3 symptoms of ADHD? Inattention, that means the attention span is shorter and shallower. They can't keep their attention long. 2, impulsivity, they do things suddenly. And hyperactivity, they multitask, do many things at the same time. So I need to just add this caution to you. If you keep doing one thing at a time for 1 hour or for 45 minutes, which is your default mode network of thought, then you don't get into Alzheimer, and you will keep your brain. Our brain is quite pliant. Our brain is all the time able to work neuronal networkings if you are into the right activity. So besides counseling, we get them on into grips and ropes, challenge course, take aim games like carom, table tennis. Many things can be done, but the young man or the young lady himself have to be motivated into showing them that they are drastically dropping their career potential and they are not the master of their destiny. The screen has taken them over. Though the screen makes them a little pharaoh, they think they are in control. Actually, the screen is in control. Screen is first, you are reacting like a robot. So you are not in control. Though screen gives you a sense of control and power. Now I want to get into the second part of my process. This is connected to an ancient story. When the first two had it very good, our first parents in a place called Eden, they had it very good. Now, some of you may have heard the story and you may believe it with God in it. Even if you don't believe in God, listen to the story. It's a great moral of human behavior. So there was this father's home. Everything was well provided, the best provided. But comes the alien. Now, this alien comes to a kid's life in our day when we were about 18 years old, about to enter university. We get into that mode thinking we know better than parents and they can't do anything more for us now. We can now do much better for ourselves, That came to us when we finished our A-level and was going to university. But that comes now to kids at an ever-decreasing age. So the 14-year-olds began to feel like that. 12-year-olds are beginning to feel like that, and even 8-year-olds, depending on their degree of digitization, they will say, we can do better than dad or mom. In fact, they do better than dad or mom on the screen and with all kinds of apps and digital screen programs. Handling the television, they can do much better than mom and dad. Even on a GPS, going on a picnic, going on a drive, they can do better than mom and dad. So they end up with the conclusion, we can do all things better than mom and dad. Who needs them? They are antiquated, they are dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park. So they're all the time playing with spook, monsters, aliens, so their virtual reality is shifted to the screen achievement. What their school grades are, relationships are, they have no realistic assessment because their virtual reality and success is on the screen. How many likes, how brilliant you look on Snapchat, or how clever you're on Instagram. So they have shifted over there. That's their virtual reality, no real relationships, no heart relationships, all brainy relationships. So in the first home, where everything was provided, the voice said, what you should have got, you did not get. And that voice will say, there are some things that you ought to be getting, and it's all in this fruit. Can you see this? So whatever that fruit is, it may be an app, it may be a smartphone, it may be some drug, so their sense of knowing, sense of satisfaction, sense of ultimate reality, sense of appetite, all were shifted out of the home, out of what they already had, into something else. So that's how the story is introduced to us about the pathogenesis of the other pasture being greener, and I can do for myself better than what my parents can do for me, or better than what has been designed, conceptualized, better than the think and do is do and think behavior. That is bottom-up regulation. Do and think is bottom-up regulation that goes through the amygdala, that appeals to the imagination. Now, man has imagination. Animals have very little. Animals are very practical chaps. They eat their grass and they drink their water and they are quite happy. They don't imagine puddings. So man has imagination. Man has the wonderment. This wonderment is meant to be focused on a greater glory than ourselves. So that greater glory, or the nether sense, the other satisfaction or the nether satisfaction, we are supposed to get from God, in whose design we are created. So greed is actually flipping the eternal possibility to unending appetite. I'll repeat it. Greed is pitching and experiencing eternal reality through a perverted appetite of grab, gain, and consume as much as you can on whatever it is, pixel screen, sex, food, drink, beverage, or fantastic branded products. I hope you got that. Man has an eternal quest, irresistible. He knows he's more than himself. He is more than himself because his father is more than himself. So this more than himself modus pushes you into seeking the eternal or nether glory, nether satisfaction from very temporal things by consuming more of different kinds, please your body, please your senses, please your vanity, and you're getting intoxicated with different things. You try music, you try thrill, peril, violence, you try any rubbish behavior because so you try to fill it up with what you can get by all other means but God. I'm humbly submitting to you that this is not a good experiment. This will hurt you deeply, and it will consume you all the resources you have for your marriage, to do well in your career, to gather necessary knowledge, move into research, be a benefactor, be a dad, be a mom, be a mentor, lead another generation into the best they have. You be blessed, be fruitful, multiply, fill your portion, steward what others have to greatness, sometimes even greater greatness than you. That is what we were made for. Now, when that is not the track we are taking, but the bust, burn, bruise, and just bloat, that track, which is a bottom-up regulation track, is very injurious. So I see many parents coming with young fellows without assessing their own career path, track record, where they had no time for the kid, they gave a smartphone. They had no time for the kid, they gave a grand party. They had no time for the kid, they sent them on a fantastic Disney holiday. Nothing of those satisfy the real inner need a kid has. So parent, we have to take stock of how we have done things. We also may have, from 17 to 24, we must get ready and teach our kids to get ready with their best curriculum that suits the brain track formation. Now, I have many digital science videos that will precede this talk. This is a therapeutic talk to address a problem. But really how to develop your kids' career, best career and best potential, I have other videos. Please do a Google and see, or send me a WhatsApp request to my WhatsApp number +94 77 49 59 214. You have to say a career development or whatever that you need. We will send these clips free of charge. So you have to take stock of your kid 17 to 24, the doable best for them. It may involve mathematics, there's a mathematical mind. It may involve imaginative, there's an imaginative mind, the speculative mind. I have done in great detail a clip on this, the 7 kinds of career tracks your kid may be capable of, what is best for that child, your child. You can know. With very little bit of going through that track, you will know. I have described the 7 tracks. So by 24, he set on the curricular pathway and the career pathway that will best serve his maximum ability. So there is this statement which says, from the Father of light has come every good gift, and life story and life satisfaction is about this good gift going on to perfection and complete, which includes your success and legacy and significance. So 24 to 33, you get your first 1/3 in your life. 33 to 43, you get your second 1/3 in your life. In it is your success, and then comes your legacy and significance. From 43 onwards, you're doing it for others. You may be getting rich at the same time, but your significance is in your legacy. So when you're 43, your kid is at least about 15, 14, correct? That's the time. You have to give the best career advice, and the best career you have is at home. I'm not saying stay at home. Of course, you'll have to go and work and so on. Husband and wife both may choose to work, but don't forget the 14-year-old at home, which is your best career. Don't miss it. So when you're 43, your legacy waits at home. Of course, your legacy waits in the work field. You become a senior, you share your expertise, you are stewarding the best for others. How are you doing it? Because you became fruitful, you multiplied, you have filled your portion. Now your time has come. Your next 1/3 of your success, legacy, significance story comes from stewarding others to their fruitfulness, multiplication, them helping them to fill up. That's how nations develop. So the problem is not in the hands of politicians. Politicians comes from the people, correct? We appoint fellows like us, ourselves. So it is in your hands how you develop your career, home career, work career, and your future in your child. Make that your, the corporate can replace you. Home can't replace you. So I have explained this before. The invasion comes first to the family, to break the marriage, denude the marriage, diminish the marriage, dwindle marriage, LGBTQ agenda, then reciprocally separate kids from parents through the digital screen. Digital screen's thrust is always humiliate parents, laugh at seniors, you can do your own thing, and they take into fright, flight, and fights. Protest, rage, whatever the cause is. So marriage is attacked, education is attacked. Now very severely because of the COVID issue that kids don't meet face to face. There's no real education, no character development. Humans are the biohazards, and delay somehow 1 to 2 years of proper education, which 50% of which is mixing up and humanizing. You take 2 years out of that of a kid's life, that child will be a zombie, a monster, and an alien to all what he has. He'll be completely fed on the digital screen. This is a dangerous experiment. So COVID we must overcome, not at the cost of 2 years to our kids' education, not only education, interaction. Education is only 50% curricular. Other 50% is all here, where their heart and their soul and their character is fashioned to be interacting human beings, preparing for family, preparing for social interactions. You attack home, you attack the child's curricular potential through the digital screen, you attack their education, and you attack the socializing, social life, and then automatically economies will suffer, and then e-tech giants will be the winners. The 400 global brands, 400 global brands vying and putting us on auction and offering alternatives to human existence. Those will be terrible alternatives. So this is where science has brought us. Better get back to God our Father. This is my simple thesis. I hope this helped you. So with your son or daughter who's too much digitized and is angry all the time, let him hear this also. Let him hear some of my clips that I have done for schools, corporates, and banks. And they can be redeemed, but it's a lot of hard work. Don't get them into selfie existence. Get them out of it somehow, and get them to think and do, which is the top-down regulation. Don't get them to bottom-up regulation, where they do and think. So in that old home, when they lost it, they fractured from the father. Father still came, but they were fractured, and they said, when they were asked, they said, I am afraid, I am naked, I am hiding. So what does it mean, I am afraid? I don't know whom I belong to. I don't know who will protect me. I don't know what my best is. I have lost it. No belonging, no identity. I am afraid. Afraid is not about ability. Afraid is about love. No love, you're afraid. Child does not see the mother in a huge supermarket complex. He gets afraid. Moment he sees the mother, he's happy. So not feeling together, feeling alienated brought that fear. I am afraid. That's a real fear. No amount of education, no amount of money, no amount of gadgets. That sense of empty feeling inside, there's nobody there for me. I'll have to do everything for myself. I'll fight my way through. Then comes the belligerence, pugnacious behavior, fighting for everything, criticizing everything. I don't know whether I'm loved. Whatever comes to me, I don't know it is the best. I can't trust anybody anymore. You understand? I'm afraid. Yes. Then came, I am naked. What does that mean? I am deeply violated where I was most tender. That's what it means. I am naked. Something inside me, my worth and my dignity, I am exposed. I am vulnerable. Please help me. That's what they're saying. Of course, they don't say, please help me. They are fighting. But inside them, they are cringing. I am naked is a terrible feeling. So we have to tell our youngsters, no experimentation with sex. No, no. You have to wait for the chosen partner to come. Experimenting with sex injures deeply more than anything else. You understand nakedness? Now you understand why nakedness and nudity is such a powerful, terrible, potent weapon. We have to teach our young people not to experiment it with pornography in any other way. So all cartoon forms are asexualized. The digital screen sets them up for transgender thinking. And John Hopkins pediatrics professors have stood up against it, and they have been blackmarked for it because fake science gets more publicity than true science. But they have gone on record saying there's nothing called transgender thinking. XY or XX, that's it. There's nothing in between. But it's so popular. So when girls are coming into the puberty, they are being given testosterone and androgens, suppress puberty. With the boys, it's the other way around. The terrible child abuse with the help of the medical profession. It's terrible child abuse. So I just branched off a little into what promotes nakedness, which is it somehow denudes you more than anything else. You only have to think of the girl who's raped in a party, and the morning after, she says, I'll do the same thing to everybody else I meet. What happened to me, I'll see to it that it'll happen to others also. So in US, there's a big high-profile pedophilia case. It's on all the time. It's hidden all the time. But for us personally, we need to take care of our kids. We need to take care of our own lives. Never come to the point where we feel naked, uncovered, vulnerable, and thinking, I'll do the same to others, where the victim becomes the victimizer. Okay? So I'm afraid, I'm naked. Third statement was, I am hiding. What does that mean? I don't know what my future is. I can't see a destiny. Everything inside me is convoluted. I can't see a promise or a development future forward. That's what Adam meant by saying, I am hiding. All that are shining in him with prospect, possibility, all went. It must have been a terrible moment. What more? They were suspicious of each other. They hid behind different trees. They hid from each other. They hid from their father. Still, man hides from each other. Even in marriage, one does not know unless you are really open in heart. I think that needs a savior, whether you are really open to each other, or whether you are continuing the Eden project of hiding behind different trees. One tree may be knowledge, PhD, research, great brain advancement, as I was on to. That's where my change came. I was hiding behind enormous books and encyclopedias. To read through an encyclopedia was my hobby. I always ate with 4 or 5 books open. I just assimilate knowledge. It sticks in me. It's a gift of God, but I abused it. Thank God, in right time, He came into my life. What's the tree you're hiding behind? Eve was hiding behind one tree. Adam was hiding behind another. Sometimes marriage is like that. Both doing their own thing. It doesn't have to be like that. So I took the whole story. Now, as I started, I told you some may believe in God, but there is a great story. Others may not believe in God. I was like that, but I came to believe, and I find the story really explains human pathogenesis, human predicament. So the last thing they said was, I am hiding. But we know that everything that went into hiding, closed up, can open up for the best God has for us. As I said earlier, the good gift becoming perfected is the help we get from the Savior. Because when the good gift goes down, in that gap, there is hurt, there is humiliation, there is horror or fear, I'll never get to what I can be. Then there is hatred. I'll take revenge from who, whatever, did this to me. Lastly, there are hexes, bad things returning unpredictably. It is into this gap the Savior comes, and He took the hurt on the cross. He took the humiliation on the cross. You can't imagine what humiliation it was. Dying so publicly, near naked, insulted completely. And when He was so innocent, so badly insulted. Have you been insulted? Have you been told things that you never did? You remember how you felt? Can you imagine He who was perfect, when He had to go through it, how He felt? Then the fear that I'll never be able to get there. Then comes the reaction on, I'll get it back from whomever. We shift blame, we take revenge from parents, teachers, system, governments, politics, and you may grow a Trotsky beard and get into that kind of fisticuffs. Then comes the hexes, which is an old English word, which means bad things recurrently happen. Thank God we have a Savior. Thank you for listening. I started with the digitized generation, your kids, and I moved into your situation. Please consider both. There are many books available. You can go on our website, www.apeksha-lanka.org. Apeksha is a classic, our language word for expectation or hope. So many books are available, clips are available. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.